We're going to start with using the Microlon Assembly Lube, and we're going to coat all moving and non-moving parts of the lower receiver of the AR-15. And we'll start with the Q-tip. And just get in there real good. Anywhere the trigger's going to rub or now, when you're coating your receiver, you want to make sure you coat all small crevices. Get in there anywhere any metal will rub on other metal parts. So you want to make sure you set all little small cracks and crevices. Make sure you coat them good. This is Microlon's new product. It's an industrial metal treatment in an aerosol can, and you can use this to get into all your hard to reach places. And maybe an amateur or someone that's just not sure working on their gun, this would work great for your bolt release, so you do not damage or mar up your receiver replacing the spring. What this does is it soaks into the pores of the metal, and it greatly reduces the friction between the two metal parts. And what we'll do is we'll give it a little shot in there, and work it a little bit, make sure it soaks into the springs, and then we'll let it set. And you can also use this to just hit inside your buffer tube and let that soak, and that'll save you a little bit of time, and it'll also keep you from, like I said, possibly damaging your receiver when you're removing your bolt release. Okay, now that we've treated the entire gun with Microlon, we're going to set it aside while we continue to do the internal parts and other parts. Now, for the Microlon to take complete effect, you must repeat this process 4 times. And I'll tell you the reason we are doing my gun today. A customer came into my shop, told me about this product, took his AR apart in front of me and showed it to me. All his moving parts felt wet and oily, yet everything was completely dry, so that will keep it from attracting dirt and dust. And he has shot over 4,000 rounds through the gun, and it had no wear, no carbon buildup or anything like that. So I was pretty impressed with the product, and that is why we're here today doing mine. And now we're going to continue by we're going to coat all the internal parts of the lower on the AR-15 with the Microlon Assembly Lube. And again, this process must be completed 4 times for the maximum effect, to let the Microlon soak into the metal, push out any debris, and then give it a complete anti-friction coating. Okay, now that we've applied the Microlon to the internals of the lower receiver and the lower receiver, we're going to tell you that once Microlon is properly applied to all the moving parts and non-moving parts, you would actually have to bake your rifle in an oven at 750 degrees for a half an hour, or you would have to mill the parts to remove the Microlon. Okay, now we're going to move on to the upper receiver, and you're going to start with a swab. We also have larger swabs, and you want to make sure you work that into all the little cracks and crevices in the upper receiver, just like we did in the lower receiver. And if you can't get to it with a Q-tip, you can improvise by using a rag and a small pair of clamps or something. But you want to get a fairly generous amount and really work it down inside where all surfaces are going to join. Okay, now that we've coated the inside of the receiver, we're going to go into the chamber. And just to remind you that you must repeat all these processes 4 times for the Microlon to be properly applied. Now we're moving on from the upper receiver, and we're going to go to the bolt carrier group. Now, when you're applying this, you always want to use a clean swab. You don't want to contaminate your assembly lube. And we are also and your smaller parts, if you don't want to remove your gas rings, you want to make sure you shake well and give a small coating to your gas rings. Move them around, make sure it gets in there tight. And then you can also catch inside where your gas tube will go. And you let that soak in. Like I said, you go ahead with a clean swab, and you always want to make sure you cover all moving parts anywhere there's going to be friction. Now you can take some of the cotton and remove it from the end of your Q-tip to get inside your bolt, because again, you want to treat all surfaces. Just like so. And you can make sure you coat your firing pin. Okay, now we're going to move on, after we've got the bolt taken care of. We're going to move on to the buffer tube, or excuse me, the buffer spring and the buffer, because you can greatly reduce friction on those parts as well. And to do your spring, just get you a nice small piece of cleaning rag of some sort and put it on there. And you're basically just going to be like you're threading it. Coat the inside of the spring. Once you come to the end, get the inside of your spring coated. Then with a clean Q-tip, again, you don't want to corrode, or excuse me, contaminate your clean product. You just rub it on the outside. Now Microlon will also greatly reduces corrosion along with reducing friction. I would say almost to the point of eliminating both. Alright, now it's coated, we set it aside and let it dry. There we go. And we have our buffer system completely coated. Now we're going to use a commercial heat gun to heat up the receiver. And this is not a hair dryer. Again, it's a commercial heat gun. You want to heat the metal, but you don't want to create it so hot to where you're burning yourself. And what this will do, it'll speed up the process, and it also opens the pores in the metal and allows the product to soak in more effectively. This procedure has been done on many ARs as well as other semi-automatic weapons, and it's been very successful. Again, you want to heat it up without, you don't want it real hot. Now again, you're just trying to heat the metal. You don't want to get it really hot. You want to keep your heat gun moving. Now that our first coating is dried, or is dry enough, what you're going to do is take a soft cotton cloth and you just gently want to work it in. Not so much wipe it off, but gently work it into the metal. Do not use a electric buffer or anything like that. Just completely do this by hand. Now that we're done buffing the product in, the Microlon in, then we are ready to repeat the process 3 more times. Okay, before we do any of the firing or the treating of the barrel, we're going to go over a few range safety rules. Of course, always keep the gun empty. Make sure it's visually inspected to clear the weapon. Keep the bullets separate. Make sure you have hearing protection, eye protection, you have a good shooting range, and you're sure of what's behind what you're shooting at. Okay, now that we've finished the 4-coat process, the 4-step process of coating all the metal parts, we've reassembled the rifle. We're out at the range now, and we're getting ready for the process of curing the barrel with the gun juice. And right now, the noticeable difference, without taking the rifle apart, I noticed the trigger is a lot smoother. It still has that mil-spec creep, but it is a lot smoother. And the cycling of the gun is also very, very smooth and quiet now. So without firing the gun yet, those are the two things I've noticed. We're ready to begin the process. We're going to swab the barrel, fire the first round, and we're going to aim at the 6 o'clock position. And no matter where the bullet hits, you just keep aiming at the same spot on the target. And so you can notice the barrel, or excuse me, the bullet climbing with every shot.
Do I change it out or no? Change it out or?
That was way higher. We've now completed the barrel coating process, and you can see where we started shooting down here real low, swabbing the barrel every time in between shots. That one there was a little bit of a jerk, but you can see it kept climbing. Then I've just placed 3 shots through practically the same hole. So now we're complete with the barrel treatment with the gun juice. It's taken 9 shots to complete the treatment of the barrel with the Microlon, and you've noticed at the target the bullet quit rising, and we probably moved up 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches, and we'll see how it does after further testing.